really it was safety and connection that allowed me to move to where I did without, that's something I hadn't had before. And I said to the universe, this can't be it, there has to be more. Oh, it made me tear up. Like I just made that connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was it. That's what the more is. It was that I wasn't safe and I wasn't connected to a bigger community of safe people.
What if story is the answer to our crises of meaning and belonging, to our impulse to heal our lives and help others, to our desire and drive to leave this world better than we found it? Now, we love good stories. In fact, we're kind of obsessed, not just with the stories themselves, but with the stories behind the stories. Their oddly perfect timing, the healing process they provoke in their authors, and their capacity to catalyze individual and collective change. And we love exploring these with writers, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, healers, parents, and others. Tune in to hear these stories behind the stories and entertain with us the real possibility that whether you are a teller or a consumer, story is always offering or leading us to an answer. Laurie Bonavir wanted to write a book since she was a kid, but she didn't get started until she was a wife, a mom of 2 children, and a busy professional who just did not have the time for it. Yet somehow she knew there has to be more than this. Of course, she had no idea that the fictional choose your own outcome story she was writing to help divorcing parents make child-focused choices was actually going to become the mirror, the map, and the magical vehicle she needed to create that more she was seeking in the rest of her life. Tune in to find out how Laurie cleverly escaped her very first retreat, only to have her intentions affirmed and come back to do the work. How she responded to unusually high conflict in her professional world by hiring Therapist of the Year, only to realize that her crazy writing coach just might have been right. And finally, you'll hear how Laurie came to see what this was all really about and how she took courageous action, only to realize that she had essentially written the scripts for everyone else too. Today's episode will make you laugh and marvel at the magic that is always happening around us if we will just have the courage to choose to look. Grab a cup of something yummy and a pen so you can capture every sip of story insanity. Welcome to Sips of Story Insanity, where we talk about the stories behind the stories with authors, speakers, thought leaders, healers, parents, and more. My team, son Aaron.
Hello.
My sister Alyssa.
Hello.
And clients turned friends turned team members, Teddy.
Hi, y'all.
And Laurie.
Hey, everyone.
Are here to help me make sure that we get the most delicious sips of story insanity out of this experience. And today, I don't know about all of you, but I brought extra sips because today we have Laurie Bonavir, who is a licensed clinical social worker with degrees in social work, human services, psychology, and child development. She has experience as a child welfare caseworker, a preschool teacher and college professor, and a facilitator for the state mandated class for divorcing parents. Since 2002, her clinical practice has focused on providing child custody and parenting time evaluations and testimony as an expert witness in the circuit courts. Having expanded her practice to include consulting, coaching, and speaking, she's now sharing her message of child-focused choices with a larger audience. And all the stuff that's not in the bio is like, she is one of the smartest and most hilarious people I have ever worked with. And that's saying something because we have some characters around here. So welcome, Laurie.
Thank you. I sound so smart when you read it off the paper like that. No wonder I'm tired. That's a lot. I do a lot.
Oh, that's why I'm tired.
That's awesome.
I wonder, we should go back to all of our podcasts and hear how many people do just that when we're done talking about the bio. When I'm done reading the bio, like that is the reaction, like, right? Who is that person that should just oh my goodness. So I don't even know how to set the stage. Like I said, I have extra sips because quite frankly, you and I have been hanging out for almost 3 years now.
Yep.
And I don't know if I have ever seen this level of magic. I won't even say mess because it's really like the magical elements. Yes, there have been huge messes, but oh my goodness, I can't even, I hope we can capture all of it today. So I want to go back to the beginning, really about like, why did you decide to write this book? What compelled you to even get started on this journey? Because you're obviously a busy woman. Like, why would you take on a project like this?
Well, I did not have time to do this. And I was going to do it in 6 months. And I was going to have you be my ghostwriter and just be done with it so that I could write a book. Because that's why I wrote the book, because I wanted to write a book. No other reason than I just wanted to write a book since I was a kid. And I thought I better get on that because I'm getting old and I got to get done with all this stuff so I can live some life. So I wrote a book. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay. And
Yeah.
did you have an idea? Because we met at this sweet little spot that used to be called Prosperity Pie in Multnomah Village. And it is just this, I mean, the most delicious food and experience in a little workshop space in the back. And so we met there. So what was your thinking in going into that workshop? Did you know what you wanted to write about, or were you just like, I'm here for a book?
Yeah, I was just there for a book and some pie.
Okay. And
Yeah,
what'd you get
goodbye.
instead?
Yes, and I had my daughter with me because
Mm,
yeah, so like my calendar is berserko and something happened and she was supposed to be summer, but she wasn't. So she came with me too.
yeah.
Had some pie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Played with her stuff in the corner while we were all talking
Yeah.
about all of the things. So then I remember we talked about the possibility of me helping you, but it wasn't quite time yet. What was the initial, was it just because you didn't have enough time, or what were you
Yes,
telling yourself?
that was the spring of 18 that I met you,
Mhm.
right? Spring of 18 at the pie shop. And then I didn't launch into this until January of 19. So yeah, just busy, busy, busy. I'm always too busy. Now a recovering perfectionist thanks to this process. So I'm very busy perfecting everything in my business, in my home. And yeah, I think I was just super busy and didn't want to stick one more thing on my plate, but it was like percolating that whole time.
Mm.
And I knew I was moving in that direction. And yeah, you kept talking. You were persistent in the kindest way. Hey, how you doing, girl? What's going on over there? Think any more about the book? And I'd be like, yes, I'm thinking about it. Thank you. Talk to you later. So that went on for quite a few months.
It does. It goes on because this is a big thing. And as you've experienced, it's much bigger than people even know. Like the idea of sitting down and writing a book can feel overwhelming and exhausting. But when people meet me and in those workshops, I'm pretty transparent about the fact now, like I'm certain that this is always way more than the book, right? Like there's some sort of some reason why your soul is telling you to write a book, and it might be eventually going to help your business, but first it's going to be something for you to wrestle with. So i I mean, tell us about that story. You've signed up, you decided to take the plunge, and I
Mm.
mean, I feel like your first retreat was epic for you and for me, but this is about you, so share that story.
All right. Well, as 2018 rolled on, yeah, life was busy. My practice was busy. I have 2 kids and a dog and a husband. That was all busy. And I was not happy. So I was just On paper, like when you first got us started here, like I look good on paper. My whole family looks really good on paper. My husband's a firefighter. My kids are great students and good friends and good athletes, well accomplished. And, we had a very nice home and 2 cars and the dog. And like we look good on paper, but I was not happy. I was not happy in a lot of things in my life and especially in my family, but I didn't know why. There was nothing obvious on the surface that would cause me to be able to see that something was wrong. And certainly anybody looking in saw nothing but the perfect Christmas card, postcard family. So somewhere towards the fall, I can't really tell you when this is, but it's fall, kind of nearing the holidays. I remember laying in my bed at nighttime and the kids were already in bed. I was just laying there and I don't know if there was something on TV. Maybe it was a sappy commercial or maybe a program. I don't know. Also, I was just sad and I was just crying. And I remember like speaking the words out loud and then thinking I was kind of crazy, which I do a lot. But I spoke out loud like, this can't be it. There has to be more. I'm not super religious. I have really left my faith long ago at that point. And I don't know who I was talking to. I guess I was just talking to the universe or whoever was listening. And it was very shortly after that I signed up for the retreat. It might have been the next day. It might have been the next day I started talking with my sister helped me just financially to come up with that bigger chunk of money to be able to go to the retreat and sign up. And so I think right after that, I just really got things in order. And I thought, all right, well, if there's something more, my question was, there has to be more than this. I better get to work and figure out what more is out there. And that felt like the avenue to start pursuing. So that's how I got there. Well, that's how I got signed up. The story of getting there is a little more complicated, but I think that's how it all worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you signed up in the fall and we weren't really actually starting until January, until the first of the year. And so, that first retreat that you attended was, I mean, I shared a little bit on the podcast with Lonnie because we of course were talking about you and your story. But it was like one of the things that I know after a decade or so of being in transformational spaces is that my work always precedes the work of the client. So I could not understand why for 3 weeks, 4 weeks before this retreat, like my family system just blew up. We've had challenges before. We have challenges regularly, like any relationship does. But this was like next level. I was calling Teddy like, what in the world is going on? And then I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh, it's the retreat. I bet you it's the retreat. I am being prepared for something. And so, we arrive and I mean, tell us about your arrival, that whole experience.
Lord. Yes. So let me think back to that time. So my perfectionist self had it on the calendar, had the little invite on my desktop. I clicked it a couple times a day, make sure I had everything scheduled correctly and care for my kids. And I had a big to-do. I always have a to-do list, but I had a big one then. And I was going to make food and get to the grocery store. I was going to do a mani-pedi. I ordered a bunch of new clothes online because it was like a vacation to me. I ended up going away for a week. Like I never got to do that. And I imagined getting there and writing my book in that week in January and being really like almost done. So I was getting everything in order, checking the date. And I remember sitting at my desk at work. And I don't know if you asked, or maybe you said, see you in a couple of hours. Anyway, some message came through and I lost my marbles because I wasn't leaving till the next day. It was the first day of retreat and everybody was showing up, but I was not. My list was still quite big and my kids didn't have care till morning. And I'm just not somebody who's late or disorganized or who misses a showing up day. So yes, you got my first freak out like right away. You got to know me pretty good, pretty quick. And
The perfectionist in me honors the perfectionist in you.
Your message bag was so simple, but really became the thread that carried on through the whole process and really is my space of grounding right now. Your message was breathe, just the word breathe. And that was it. Now, at the time I read that and I was like, this lady's crazy. What do you mean breathe? I'm like hyperventilating. What is she talking about? But I didn't breathe with my conscious effort then. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to breathe and be okay. So that day went on. I picked my kids up. When I picked my kids up from school that day, and it's a school where they have attended for years and years and years, a decade, I went in to get them, and there was this little wooden sign that I walked past. It was a wooden sign. It had a rusty butterfly logo attached to this little wood sign, and it had the word trust written across it. And it caught my eye when it went in. I'd never seen it before. I'd probably walked by it for 10 years or more, but I saw it that day. And I went and I got my kids and I came back and I kind of peeked at it out the corner of my eye, like I wasn't sure if it was for me or why it was there, why I was catching my eye. I walked past it and then I walked back around. I took a picture and then I got in the car and I sent it to you. I'm like, oh, look at this thing I just saw. I think you were like, yep, breathe.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah.
That
so
was
that
my
night,
first clue.
that was the first clue. It was the first thing I actually saw. And with many more to come. So I went to bed, I got up, I got the kids where they needed to go. I packed all my things and I arrived to retreat on the day after everybody did. And when I got there, it was silent time. I am a talker. Like I do not sit quietly. I don't sit and breathe. Like those are not things I did then. So I was like, oh, whew, this is going to be big for me. So I found a comfy chair and I sat down while everybody was doing their quiet things. And I plucked a book off the shelf next to the big comfy chair, and it was Chicken Soup for the Soul. I was like, oh, all right, well, I've heard of this. What is this? Taking care of yourself, self-care kind of thing. And so I started to read a little bit of that and I kind of settled in, and yeah, then we got started after an hour or two of being quiet, which still that's really hard for me.
I know. So Teddy was at my first retreat, and at the first retreat, she kind of rolled in the same way, like stressed out completely, just like things not going as planned, not showing up the way that she would have normally. And after, I want to say it was after 2 or 3 retreats, I realized that I would lose half a day of work with people, asking them to arrive in the morning, because all of my people are like you and me. we're running, we're taking care of people, we're managing all the things, we're like, try to catch us, right? It's just it's flurry time all the time. And the amount of time that it takes for people like us to actually slow down enough to listen to what's going on the inside, which is what we need access to start talking about message, right? And story. It takes a minute. So I would lose like half a day to people slowing down enough that they realized they needed a nap, or, oh, all the drama that would happen in the morning before they could even arrive. Like some of them would just be like, you won't believe what happened. I'd be like, I believe it. So what I started to do was I started trying to get ahead of the process and invite people to show up the night before. Then we have dinner, we make connections, we do a little bit of inner light, try to help people like settle in so they're ready in the morning and we get more out of our time together. So yeah, when you didn't get that, I was personally kind of concerned because I recognized the anxiety that you were walking in with. And then of course the first day is all about like, what's your message and why do you want to share it? And also by this point, I was really focusing on the story healing work first, right? Like we have the first 3 days of like, yeah, I know you have a book to write, but also like, what's the crap that's going to come up and slap all of us in the face as you're writing it, so that we can know how to create some sort of safety for you to move through this process. So what was that like for you? I mean, the prospect of you, like, most people don't put that together. Oh, I want to write a book and I need to do what? Like, I'm writing this for my profession.
Well, that's exactly what I thought. And then I thought, well, why did I waste all this money? I'm not here for therapy. I am a therapist. I don't need therapy. I just wanted to write my book in that 7 days I had, because I never get 7 days and I can accomplish a lot in 7 days. So once we started doing that, it was fun. I mean, it was fun. I was totally intrigued, and I was having fun, but really the little voice in my head was like, we got to get writing. We got to get writing. We've already lost a whole day. We got to go. We got to go. We only got 7 days. We got to get this done. So that's what it was like for me. I didn't understand what was going on, but I was happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so what was it like during the retreat? I mean, you had some pretty epic things happen during that time, and it was just all part of that magic and a little bit of mess as well, I guess.
Yeah, that first retreat. Well, we did an intuitive exercise, and I was supposed to write down 5 areas that I thought maybe could get in the way of writing the book, or that were important to me. And I remember thinking, I don't know. I don't remember what 4 of them were, but I remember the last one I wanted to write my husband, relationship, marriage with husband. And I remember thinking I should write that down. And then I remember thinking, oh, I'm not putting that in there. And I waited till number 5, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw it in. There's 5. It'll never come up. But of course, it was the one that was chosen. And yeah, that happened. And so we started doing many exercises about, we were drawing, we were painting, we were writing words, and all the words at that first retreat, but also the second one, the words were always around trust, around love, around safety. Like, those were the big words that kept coming out on my pages, which didn't make a lot of sense to me, because I kind of thought I had all those things at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it did get overwhelming. It got overwhelming. And on day 2, I remember thinking to you, I don't remember what exercise we were going to do, but I remember being up in my room and thinking, I don't want to do that. I don't remember what we're going to do. I just remember thinking, I don't want to do that. And then I really just wanted to go away, like maybe escape or run was maybe really what was going on. But I just wanted to go shopping. And so I did. I said, I'm just going to go shopping. And you were like, okay, you should go shopping. And when I went shopping, some great things happened. So I descended the mountain. I had something typed into my GPS of a cool store I found, and I turned the wrong way, and I ended up at a toll bridge. And since I was a kid, bridges just really scare me. I don't know what the paranoia is, but I don't like bridges. And there was no way to turn around. So I'm like, oh, geez, well, I got to go cross the bridge. And they charged me $2 to cross the bridge. So I had to dig my $2 out. I got paid money to go cross the bridge. And just thinking, oh, I'm just like, what? Now I got to go back over the bridge to get back where I was trying to go. So anxious, upset with myself. I turn around, come back over the bridge, and right in the middle of the bridge, the big old mountain's just right in front of me. And it's a sunny day in January, and the water's just sparkling. And I will never forget this feeling. I wish it was occurred more often, but just absolute peace just came over me when I was in the middle of that bridge. All that anxiety and upset I was feeling and overwhelmed just left. It just left. It was amazing. So then I went into town and tried to find, I'm not very good with technical things. So I probably typed it in my GPS wrong. I couldn't find the store I was looking for. There was another cool looking store. I had to parallel park in front of a coffee shop with this giant window and lots of people inside. There was nowhere else to park. And I was like, oh, I did it. I didn't hit anything. I don't think I hit anything. And then I went in this random store, and the guy that worked in there was very chatty. He was like, hey, how you doing? I was the only one in there, and he was wanting to have
exactly what you want when you're trying to chill out from a retreat with Amanda. I know.
Yeah, and usually I'm very chatty, but that moment I didn't want to chat. I just wanted to shop and spend some money, a little retail therapy on myself and my kids. I was getting something for them. And anyway, he insisted on chatting. So we ended up chatting, and he asked me what I was doing. And I said, oh, I'm at a retreat. Well, what are you doing there? Oh, I'm writing a book. Oh, I said, yeah, me and other authors, right? So I referred to myself as an author. I'm writing a book, but I hadn't written anything. Like, I didn't even know what my book was about. really. I had some ideas. So we started talking, and I started telling him some of the just really raw, basic ideas I had for my book. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. My book is about divorce and taking care of kids through divorce. And he had just finished a divorce and just finished litigating issues about his children for custody. And so we started talking. He started talking about things that worked in his recent situation, things that didn't. I started talking about some ideas for the book. He thought they were fantastic. Anyway, his name is Aaron. We got to be best buddies. And after an hour or so of chatting, I went on my way and I texted him, I'm like, you'll never believe this. Oh boy. Yeah. I think then I went and got a pedicure, even though I didn't need one because I had one before I came, but I had another one. And then I came back to the retreat. And I think then I was really grounded. I think I got I think I figured out how to ground myself when I didn't really know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you left the retreat without the book done, right?
Oh yeah. I didn't have anything done.
What you did have was the idea, though. Like we had kind of mapped out a good idea, and it was this really cool, for listeners and viewers, you know, the choose your own adventure books that we read when we were little. I'm dating myself, but you know, you'd read this chapter and it would say, if you what?
I used to read those.
Oh, you did?
You're not dating yourself. Yeah, I had like one. I don't know how old it was, but I had
It was a copy of your mom's.
yeah, from like 50 years before. Oh my god.
Yeah, but they were so cool because you get to make choices with the character and see where those choices lead. And you know, every ending is a little bit different. And so I thought it was such a cool idea. And I was also like, wow, crap, I've never done this before, you know? So she's talking about this like really cool idea with these characters that are hilarious. They're so freaking funny. And I'm in the background thinking, how is that going to work? Even like I'm already in production going, how can I do that with interior design? Like my interior designer is going to try to kill me. So it was a new thing for both of us. And I was really excited once you got into the writing. How long did it take you, do you think, to actually like get into some sort of inspiration or excitement around the writing? Because I do remember that phase. You were excited at one point.
Yeah, I definitely did some writing there, and the characters started to emerge at that. Yeah, the main characters showed themselves while I was there for sure.
Yeah.
Mom, dad. Yeah. And the mom character's name is Vanessa, and Vanessa is the name that was on my fake ID before I was 21. And that I always used when I was 20-ish and 19-ish. And my very best friend from that time, who moved to Florida, and we just have grown older, and she had kids at different time than me. And so we really don't talk that much except on social media. But while I was there at the retreat, I hadn't talked to her in probably 10 years. She got a hold of me while I was there. So Vanessa reemerged, and my best friend from that time reemerged, and another friend that I haven't talked to in a long time had contacted me while I was there too, just to kind of really, what they did was remind me of my much younger self, who was just really funny and fun and lively. And yeah, she became the character. She is the character. She is me. I am her. We are one.
And you know, my first clue about that was the amount of detail that you put in about her enjoyment of using lavender bleach to process her feelings.
Yeah.
That was my first clue, because I hadn't really worked on fiction before from the beginning. And we talked about this. I let you know ahead of time, like, I haven't done this before. This is going to be new. We're going to have to work it out together. But there was some point where, you know, at the retreat, you shared this stuff going on at home, that things weren't really happy, that you weren't really, you know, and I immediately saw the connection as the coach, right? Like, okay, so you pulled this thing about this piece out of the intuitive exercise, which I work very hard to stay out of that process completely so that it can never be Amanda made me do it because I had too many years of that conversation going on. So, um, so, you know, you pull it out, you have the conversation, you share some things with us that you've never shared really with anyone before, right?
Yeah.
And then I start to see these characters emerge and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Inside the coach's mind, I'm like, okay. So I wonder if Laurie might be writing about her own story to whatever degree it was. Like I didn't have all of the details of what was going on. But as I saw the characters unfold and I saw the qualities that you gave them and the funny little expressions, I was like, yep, the character has 2 kids who are about these ages, who are interested about these things. Like this one loves bleach and that one's really interested in cars. Like, you know? And so I started to put it together and I would ask you, and you would be like, oh no.
This lady's cray. Why is she asking me that?
This is completely unrelated.
Completely.
And so, you know, after years of really by trial by fire, really, you know, working with people with serious PTSD or brain injuries or like all of these things where there's real trauma involved, I recognize like, okay, this is a psyche that's not ready, because I'm saying it and it's like bouncing like glue, you know, bouncing like rubber. It's just not. And so about every little chunk of time, I would say, so have you noticed that? You'd be like, nope. Meanwhile, you're hauling ass through this project.
Yeah.
So what for you, I mean, because on the surface, you were in it, you were excited about it. So at what point did you start to feel like, uh-oh, you know, like things are getting harder or stickier, or like at what point did you start to recognize there was something under the surface happening?
Yeah. Well, 6 months in, so June-ish, 2019, for work, I am an expert witness. So I was sitting in a hearing doing my job, and a very aggressive attorney decided to be very aggressive. And he had a rebuttal witness there that was being a schmuck, who was a colleague, but he was being a schmuck. And really just super attacking of like my professional ethics, my value, my worth. The hearing came out fine. The judge agreed with me, told him to eventually, you've had it, your say, we're all done here. But that that experience caused me to connect with a therapist who sees therapists, because it just really unhinged me in a way that I work with attorneys all the time, right? That's not new. And attorneys are often aggressive. That's not new. But whatever it was about this particular time, so I had been writing for 6 months, and the way that he did it, or that there was 2 men, I think men had something to do with it at that point, and just what he attacked. You know, he wasn't attacking my work or my product or my process. He was attacking me. Right. So that sent me over some kind of emotional cliff. So I found a therapist who sees therapists, and I went in and we talked about the situation at work, and maybe talked about that for 2 sessions. And he said, oh, okay, so I'd like to ask you about how you described your family. And I was like, what? I don't want to talk about my family. Why? What do you want to know? And he said, well, let me read back what you wrote, what you said. And I said something about like, I have the perfect family. We're all terrific and great and everybody's happy. Something to that effect. Painting the picture that I paint to everyone, right? And I remember thinking, well, yeah, that's right. He said, I wonder if we could explore that a little more. So it's 2.5 years now. I still see him every week, and we're still exploring it a little bit more. So 6 months in, I knew that something was happening, because I started to get some therapeutic support around the writing process. We would talk a lot about the writing process. And you, Amanda, we would talk about you came up frequently in our sessions and what you
I'm
were
always
thinking and reflecting.
I'm
Yeah,
always
and we
wondering
just
what the therapists think about this lady Amanda that they hear about. Like, who is this person helping people write books?
out there. Oh, it's all good. It's all great. And yeah, we just really started connecting the pieces in there that allowed me to really begin to start seeing like that little wooden sign that I saw at the beginning. After that, I think it was after, so a few things had happened prior, but after that, I really started to see a lot of things around me that were not visible before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were still kind of separate because I would ask, you know, you told me that you're working with a therapist and we're starting to put pieces together. And I find that this happens. And I think this is really important for listeners and viewers to kind of wrap their heads around. When you're in a creative process, you think that you're working on this one thing, but it's you working on the thing. And that means that everything else is tied to that thing somehow. And so, you know, if it's a worth conversation, you can bet your butt that that worth conversation is showing up in relationships and somewhere else, or and profession. It's showing up. I mean, there's hardly a place that doesn't get so deeply tied, even to the point of like those neurological pathways, right? Like all the stories get tied together.
Mhm.
Who you are, questioning your worth at 7 impacts how you engage every person and set up every relationship and every business transaction, right? Like
Yeah.
it's you doing it. So for me, I was like, okay, like the universe has moved some things into place. Our co-author is now like, these are terrible things that happen, being attacked while you're on stand, like that's awful. And also I could see how it was kind of one of those chess pieces being moved into place so that you wouldn't have just the crazy Amanda person saying, do you think that these things might be related?
Right. Yeah.
So, but they were really separate for a while. And you know, we got into the process. I mean, how long did it take you to finish your final draft? Because you were moving pretty quickly. This has turned out to be a 500-page book. Right? Like with all of these, each characters, there's 2 main characters, the husband and the wife, and they each get 3 choices apiece about how they're going to behave in the process of dissolution. Yeah. And so it's a lot of story. It's all hilarious and fun and tear jerking. Like there are some chapters that like how many times did I read them? Like 100 times maybe, and I still bawl my eyes out while I'm reading.
Me too.
So like it was a huge endeavor. But so how long did it take you? You thought it was going to take you, you know, a week, but how long did it actually take you to write the content?
Yeah, I was pretty sure that sucker would be done in a week and then it would be published in 6 months. But I finished the first copy of the book on New Year's Eve, 2019. I remember sitting there on New Year's Eve and my kids are drinking their fake wine and popping their stuff and blowing their things. And I'm like, I gotta get this done. I told her I'd have it done this year. So maybe it was 11:59. I'm like, done.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then we got into the process of getting even more messages from the universe, let's say, around this, right?
Because universe talk to me. We had a direct line.
I truly like, I mean, I still get, I don't know why I still get surprised when you send me these texts, like, you won't believe this, because there have just been so many of them. So we get into the process of getting feedback, which is a challenge because, you know, one of the things that I tell people is like, you need different levels of feedback. You need feedback from people who are just like you, meaning like same profession, are in the work with you, can validate it from that perspective or help you refine it, right? but then you were also like talking about lawyers and therapists and other people. And so it was important to get all that feedback as well. But it was kind of hard to get to the just right reader, like the people that you're really, because you can't use a client really. That's unethical. So tell us about the feedback process, because it was an adventure, let's say.
Oh, yeah. So, sitting here now, all this time later, I can tell you who my most valuable feedback was, and we have talked. He and I have talked. But when his feedback came back, I was ready to just trash the whole project. I was sure I had just screwed this up, or he was crazy, or maybe both of it, and it just needed to be burned, and I should probably start over. But that was the most helpful, critical feedback that I got that really shifted and changed the additional versions that came out of this that made the book the way it is today, which I'm so proud of. So, oh gosh, yeah, there's all kinds of feedback, right? There's the critical feedback that really kind of makes you reframe and shift that needs to happen. And then there's the critical feedback where you're like, that's not right. Like that, I can get rid of that. And then there's like the, my perfectionist friends who are like, oh, Laurie wrote a book. I'm so proud of you. Hug, hug, pat, pat, woo. And that's it. Like, I'm like, did you even read it? Like, oh, there's a period on page 52 you missed, or like, I'm like, so then that happens, right? I love all my friends. I love you. But some of that happened too.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all the anxiety around like sending it to my professional community, because I'm not, so I cleaned it up with friends and family and colleagues that you sent it to. And then I was ready to go to my professional community, which was really terrified. I was terrified. That's the right word. But that feedback was also super, super valuable. And it started to really make me believe, like when I got the professional community feedback, started to make me believe that it was good and it was going to help and I could really get going and get it done. Yeah. But then this like world pandemic happened and everything came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we sat. There it's at.
There we sat.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to, so you were kind of like in this feedback. We did several rounds of this, and of course, busy professionals getting you information back. Like this is taking months, right?
Yeah, months.
But it's through the pandemic, and we're refining as we go. Yeah. And then what's happening in the background? Like you're still busy working, or what was going on?
Yeah, I never stopped working. I just kept working. Now my kids were at home because the pandemic was, so now they're doing, math in my kitchen, and I don't know how to do math and they're asking me about math. So I'm hiring math tutors.
Oh no, you're gonna get an attorney question you on that next hearing, Laurie.
Oh golly. And so all of that's happening. And weirdly enough, with the pandemic, the housing market went knockers. And so things at home are just kind of moving along. I'm working with, I call them therapist of the year. So I'm working with therapist of the year and weekly, and we're kind of every other week. And sometimes I don't show up because I'm not super invested with therapist of the year at that point, because I don't like what we're uncovering, right? We're like lifting up the veil and he's pushing. I don't really want to look at any of that. So sometimes I forget to go or cancel last minute because I'm too busy. So that's going on. Kids are in my kitchen doing math. My business is super busy because everybody's now locked up at home. Families are locked up at home. So everybody's having trouble. So, and the courts are closed. So now people don't have anywhere to go. So everything's flooding into Laurie to fix it. In the pandemic. And then here where I live in Oregon, these historic wildfire, like the whole place caught on fire. And the housing market's going wonky. And my husband decides it's so wonky, we should sell our house, because house values went through the roof. So we have a very nice house. We bought it when it was in shambles, and he remodeled it from the ground up, and it was beautiful. It was a little half acre, just right outside the city, woods, a little creek in the back, the super nice covered. Anyway, it was home. Like there was things wrong, but our home was a lovely, safe, wonderful place. That felt good, especially when everything else in the world was going upside down. But he thought we should sell it because we're gonna make this enormous profit off of it. So I was like, no. And the kids are like, we don't want to move. And then I saw the enormous profit, like the number on the paper, and I was like, oh, whoa, like, that's pretty sensational. So I kind of got on board, but what neither one of us really thought through too well, though it seems so simple, is you could sell your house for an enormous profit, but everybody else is selling their house for, so it's really just a wash if you got to buy something else. So we sold our house. We sold our house right when the wildfires were going on, and the day of our closing, my dog, it was like a weekend, so everybody's kind of sleeping in, and my dog was waking me up. I was like, dog, go sleep. I'm sleepy. Mommy's sleepy. Go lay down. But she was insisting that I get up. So I was like, oh, I don't want her to poop in the house. So I'll get. So I got up, got out of bed, sent her out our back door, backyard forest. And I'm tired, so I can't see. And I'm kind of looking out, and it's wildfire. So the whole sky looks weird anyway, because everything's on fire. And I look across the forest, and I see something just really shining, sparkling. I didn't know. I was like, well, that's weird. Gosh, everything just kind of looks like a movie out here. And then I heard crackle, crackle, crackle. And I'm like, oh my God, I think that's a fire in my own backyard. So my dog's like running circles over by there. I'm like, oh. So yes, it's a fire. I could smell it. I could see it. It's crackling. So I run back in my house, and I wake up my husband, because he's a firefighter. And I say, husband, the backyard is on fire. What? I'm like, yes, I think there's a fire. So he pops up, he looks out, he's like, ooh. So he gets his phone and he calls the whole Portland Fire Department. Ended up in my neighborhood. Like, I don't know how many trucks are there, what he said, but they all came. But by that time, he had run out our back door. So we're having trouble, right? But this is the husband that I love. He jumps up, he's in his underwear, he runs out the back door in his bare feet, through the creek, through the blackberry bushes, up over into the neighbor's house is on fire. Me and the kids jump in the car, we run up towards where everything is on fire, we start knocking on the door, people are screaming now, everything's on fire. He's over there with a bucket and a shovel and a hose, and he's got the fire control by the time the fire department gets there, in his underwear and bare feet. So that's the husband I love, right? That's the person I married. So we're selling our house, and this was the day we were closing. So after that, we had to take a shower and go to the title place and sign papers and move out of our house. So all of that happened, and I'm feeling this renewed love for my husband and thinking, see, Laurie, everything's fine. See, therapist of the year, we're really okay. This is the man I love. We moved to our new house, and it's a new house and nothing's in order. I come across a box that has a note from my mother, and me and my mom have kind of a delicate relationship. We are not super close. I live 2,000 miles away from her. I read this letter, and she had sent it to me 15 years before, after my son was born. And in this letter, she was describing lots about her life and why she felt her value and her worth were not honored or respected or recognized. I start reading this letter, and I'm like, this could be my letter. I could be writing this letter right now. It's my mom's words, but I could be writing it. So this was, I think I was already a little discombobulated because we had just moved and everything was upside down. This letter I had to crumple it. I crumpled it. I took it out to the big garbage can. I threw it in the big garbage can. We piled garbage on top of it, but it would not leave my brain. And in the middle of the night, I went out and I dug it out. I sat out on my front porch and I read that letter again. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm not going to end up like my mom. My mom is writing this years and years after she could have done something. I have the ability to do something. So I didn't know what something was. I still didn't really know what was wrong. But I was determined to figure it out from there. So the book at that point is coming along. We're still revising. And shortly thereafter, the letter from my mom, Amanda sends an email to my inbox that says, hey, we're having a writing group. You should come. And I think, have you seen my calendar? I can't go to some writing group. This lady, Amanda's always on my case. Then I met her for coffee and she's like, I don't know why it's got to start in November, but it's got to, like, for some reason it has to. I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm going, but I drove into Safeway to get some groceries. I parked, and this group was on my mind, and she had offered, if you bring a friend, it's a discount partner. Well, anyway, I called a partner, discount partner, said, yeah, I'd love to do that. I was like, shit. Well, now we got to do this.
She missed the memo, man.
Discount partner, I gotta go. So like 2 days later, we started with this group, and in this group, it was called Right to Right the World. And in this group, it was a reflection group. On day one, because I'm disorganized at that point and behind, it said post a picture. There was a picture on my laptop of me and my husband because it's just been our anniversary sooner. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'll throw them up there. There's my picture. Woo. So yeah, I don't think it was like in line with the assignment at all, but that was my picture that I put up there. And then we started writing. And so it's really in that group. Like if we go back to that question an hour ago now, like when did you really know? It's in this group that I finally figured out what had been going on, what was wrong, what needed to change, through a series of events and lots of great community of other people who had gathered, that I figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the pieces kind of fell into place. And I got a text that was like, is it a text or an email? I don't remember, but Amanda, I think I've been writing my own story.
Somewhere about that time. Yes. I think I finally was like, what?
And I was like, yes, we're there, like you're ready. But for me, from the outside as a coach, but also as a woman who has who had safety challenged when I was very young and regularly challenged as I have grown up. I knew that it took me 3 years to believe that there was a space that was safe enough for me to tell the real stories and really begin to move and change things. And so, I have people all the time who are like, oh my God, it took so long. And I'm like, nope. I mean, kind of like right on time, because it took me 3 years too. It was just like, you can't see it until you're ready to see it. And so, I knew it was coming. I mean, it was like I could see all of the chess pieces being moved. And I thought that I was starting that writing group because that crazy election was happening. I thought people were going to need a space to like write and process. I had no idea that it was like, time was up for you. Like time was ready.
Sorry about that.
No, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. And so, just the sheer amount of you can't make this stuff up moments. I mean, so bring us up to date. Like we're recording this on December 16th, 2021, right? We're in 2021.
Still in 2021. Yeah.
Okay. And you have 5 days until the launch of your
5
book.
days until launch. Yeah.
And so like what has happened in your world and how has the magic continued?
Yeah. So in that writing group, I really recognized what was going on in my family, and through the writing group, through some really just like you're saying chess pieces, like some things just moved right into place and offered me what I needed to see and to hear, and avenues to explore and be safe. I just want to say that too, like really it was safety and connection that allowed me to move to where I did without, and that's something I hadn't had before. And I said to the universe, this can't be it, there has to be more. Oh, it made me tear up. Like I just made that connection, right? Like that was it. That's what the more is. It was that I wasn't safe and I wasn't connected to a bigger community of safe people. And I really didn't have deep trusting relationships, which I developed through this process with you guys and the rest of the community. And so that was the key to moving into the space where I could see and then start to act. And so December, January, my husband and I physically separated. So he ended up leaving the house. He ended up going to some intensive treatment and therapy, and we're still separated now a year later. and we're in the process of a dissolution through mediation. It's very amiable, and the universe in all of its wisdom is really giving me a opportunity. It's always an opportunity to try out my theories, that I have been supporting other families with for 2 decades. And I think the universe said, okay, this book is going out. Before it does, before you can really preach this message, you need to believe it. So I think, this is an opportunity for me to fully believe in what I wrote and what I help other families accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're a year later, and he has an apartment that's close by, and I still live in this house that we moved to, and our kids have received therapy, and we've received family therapy, and grace and kindness and respect are all at the top of our list of the way that we interact with one another. And this immense healing has happened over the course of the past year in our family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been incredible to watch. And I feel like we cannot leave this episode without talking about the ridiculousness of some of the details. Like, so what, 2 years ago, you're writing scenes about him leaving the house and asking for certain things. You're about, the way that the actual dissolution ends up, like the way that some of the scenes look with the girl and whatever you're comfortable sharing. I would love for you, because I want to set this up for listeners. I have said for a while that this lady might be one of the most, people study for a long time to learn how to manifest things. Okay. Yeah. Like, people put years into rituals and practices and meditation, and you are like so intuitive and also so powerful. And what it has shown me is that there was a part of you that knew what was coming, and that was writing all of the things, knowing full well what was going to happen. Like, you already knew it. You wrote it all before. It's unreal to me when I.
Yeah, Laurie, she calls you a witch. That's how magical you are. You don't even have to try. Seriously.
Yeah, I call myself that too. I think I would, like, back in the day, I'd have been burned 10 times by now over the last 3 years. I did. I wrote the script. I didn't just write the script for me, but I wrote the script for him, that he's following the script that I wrote. Right. So in terms of a lot to do with the dissolution and money matters, and how this would go in terms of being collaborative and amiable and valuing me. Right. I mean, that's what it was all about. Is he finally saw his wife in the book and valued her, and really fostered her worth, I think, is what happened. And that's happening with my husband now too. So I remember my message to you, Amanda, was when you said, "Oh, you wrote this 2 years ago." I was like, "What?" You're like, "Yeah, you wrote this script like 2 years ago." I was like, "Holy shit, I
mean, almost word for word. Like,
but I didn't see it when it was happening.
Like, you won't believe what he did in mediation, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh, you mean like Luke on the court steps in that chapter?" And you were like, "I'm sorry, what?"
What are you talking about? Yeah, no, it was that freaky. And my reply back, of course, is, "Well, does this work if you're like consciously doing it? Because I want to start writing some great stuff out here. If it really works, if it works like that, let's start writing good stuff." It is. That it's amazing. It's amazing. Everything in my chapter. I just writing the chapter for You Can't Make This Story Up was absolutely cathartic, and like the cherry on top of everything, because I think as we go along, if we don't record it in that kind of way, you create different versions of it, or minimize it or dismiss parts of it. But when you write it down, in the kind of way that we did for the chapter for this book. I mean, it will always be there. I just bawl my eyes out every time. Sometimes I'm just like, I need a break. What should I do? Oh, I'm gonna read my chapter. Like, it makes me feel that happy. I just want to read it because it really was, it was magical. And what happened was magical. And as a therapist, I know that people do not reach that level of clarity, healing, connectedness, safety in a talking psychotherapy kind of setting, anywhere near the depth of what happened during the writing process for me, and everybody else, the story that I'm aware of too. So it is something special what you do and how you work with people. And yeah, my question at the beginning of there has to be more, the universe sent me you and all of you. I'm just so grateful that was the more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. It's been incredible.
Laurie, I was at your retreat, your first retreat, and when you shared, I think you were sitting right next to me, but so, and then I was at the Right to Write Your World, and I was a reader for your book.
Yeah.
So, I got that part in. So I knew that. And then I was in the Right to Write the World. And when it started coming out, and then when we talked, like every time I would think about it, and it makes me cry now. Like, oh my God, like the grace and the divinity or whatever that, like, you wrote your own handbook ahead of time. What a gift for your kids. Like, that you wrote this massive handbook and then it all played out. There was 3 different choices the man could have made, and your man made the best
right one
that you I mean, it is yes, I just think it's a gift to the world, because it is when you're a messenger, like, you might not have thought you're a messenger, but so many times we have to live our message before we can preach it. It can get rough sometimes, and you've had to actually live it before, but it makes it all that more powerful. And I just want to say it has been an amazing story behind the story to witness and watch. And
thank you.
Everybody needs to get the book.
Thank you.
Anybody that's struggling in their relationship or going through divorce, do it for the kids.
Yeah, it's not even, you don't even have to be going through a divorce to learn some stuff about how to navigate any sort of conflict when you have kids in the room watching, or on the other side of the wall listening, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, because I know when I was reading your book the first time, that was when my son had just finished going through a divorce. And I was like, oh my goodness, Laurie, we needed this a year ago. But so many of those, like, tips and things, I've been waiting for this book. Like, I can't wait to give him a copy of this and say, take a look, right? So many of those tips and things I've tried to share with him that I've watched how he has been able to navigate so much better just by knowing some of the things that you have said. It's an amazing book. I love it.
Thank you.
I feel so left out. When I saw it on Amazon, like, it's up right now or whatever before the launch day, and I'm like, I need to wait till launch day, because that's when the thing's gonna happen. So excited.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I remember is asking you, like, what about your competitors? And you're like, I don't want to write anything like my competitors.
Yes.
Right? Because it's just all like, like talking heads, here's the checklist, blah, blah, blah. And because the characters, them so well, because like the richness of the storytelling and the humor that is infused. Like it sounds like it would be an awful read, but it's actually, I mean, I think that, you know, depending on where people are and what choices they're making, there will be parts that make them go, oh, I did that shit, you know? But the way that it's written is so funny that, I mean, it keeps it light and just the right amount of levity to kind of help buoy through these really hard realities that they're facing, right? About
Do you remember sitting at the retreat and listening? She was back by the hot tub and the spa area and in that closed room there, but she looked out at the mountain and out into the, you know, the grass and such and the trees, and every once in a while we just hear this chuckle, this belly laugh come from that end of the area, and it'd be like, wonder what she's writing there, you know, because it's such an easy read, but it has so much packed into it. But yeah, I remember at the retreat they're just thinking, because I remember you walking in and saying, yeah, you know, hi, my name is Laurie, and we even spelled our names the same, and you know, we have that connection, and I'm going to get my book done, and it's going to be written this week, and all of that, and I'm thinking, oh my heck, I've been 3 years in this process already, and I'm still not done. You know, I wish I could be like Laurie. I want to get this done. So you were an incredible inspiration, but I loved just the activities and the exercises and things that we did together. You have helped me and in so many different ways that it's just, I'm so excited for you. I just can't hardly stand it.
Thank you, Laurie. You've helped me just as much. I'm certain of it. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know why when she was saying that, I was remembering the coffee shop moment.
Which one?
Do you remember when we got the feedback about Kenny? And you were like, oh, Kenny, I have to change Kenny because you'd written this character, like all of your upset about all of the stuff that he was doing in the book was like so real. And you got that feedback that it was like too much. And so we're like, okay, we need to like turn Kenny into what's a good name? And then you came up with Luke. And so we're in a coffee shop sitting next to this fire. It's this, you know, we're doing like a writing retreat online, but her and I are in proximity. So we're doing it together. And we're sitting there and we're on our messages on our computer. And I get this like, Amanda, I think I just found my inspiration for Luke.
His picture's still on my phone. Billy comes across it every once in a while. She's like, oh, Mom, here's the hottie guy. I'm like, yeah, there he is.
I get this little picture in my inbox and it's like, this will work for Luke, right? Like I can write, this is a better character than Kenny. And I was like, go girl. And then that's what I heard. Oh, that's why I was laughing, because you were talking about the chuckles. So then for the next hour or two in the coffee shop, she's like, you know, like writing really fast. And then every once in a while, hey, you know, like there'd be this funny little giggle that would happen. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to read this scene. Like,
I remember you texting me because I was on that workshop.
Yeah.
And saying, Laurie must be writing something good because she is over here just
dying of laughter. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So fun.
Oh, I should have introduced myself. Got his number or something.
It was a funny moment. It was like, we're, you know, you'd be giggling and then I'd catch you like looking behind me and I'd be thinking, and I think there was a moment where he had someone come in and sit across from him and you're like, oh shoot. I'm like, what do you mean, oh shoot, what are you gonna do right now? Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, it's been really amazing to watch how you know, even moments like that where it's like, what are we going to do? Like that was the stress of that retreat, was how do we transform Kenny into a better character, because this is not going to work the way that it's written now. And then haughty Luke walks in and it just, I mean, magic, sheer magic. I'm just saying.
He was haughty. Wonder if I go and just hang out at the coffee shop if he'd come back. I'll just hang out there for a month, see if he shows
I mean,
up.
why not? I mean,
All you gotta do is write the new script, Laurie.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hey,
yeah.
I have one you can write to while you're at it.
You don't have to crush your ex too.
Number 2. Oh, that's good stuff. Lots of magic has happened. I mean, like, it's really, I mean, the name of the book is, it couldn't be better, because you really can't make it up. I never could have thought that any of that was possible or is possible. And it's not like it, all the magical stuff ended because the book ended. Like, if now I see all this stuff all the time that has obviously always been there. It's not like it hasn't been there. You're just not awake to it. But once you wake up to it, you're like, wow, things sparkle around you all the time. And it's really cool having those experiences and my kids watching me talk about it, and already know I'm a little wonky, but they're like, especially feeling is like, oh, I think she's not crazy, you know. She's starting to see things in her little world and pick them up. And yeah, because they're there for all of us. I'm not unique that way. They're all there for all of us all the time.
yeah.
Well,
That's awesome that your kids are picking that up now at this age. Wouldn't it have been great if we'd have seen it when we were young?
Yes.
I mean, I still think my mom's crazy though.
I think it's part of it, right? You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. But I think it's also genetic. So
It is.
It
Yeah.
is.
It is. Because
In the
now,
DNA.
now I'm the one who's sitting in the next room and I get the text like, oh my gosh, Mom, you won't believe this. Is it possible that this happened at this time and this happened at this time for just exactly this? I'm like, you tell me. Sure seems like it.
That'll be the next book. You'll never believe this. Like, how many messages do you get that start with, you're never gonna believe this? Right?
True.
I thought maybe
Yep.
when you first started that, I thought maybe that was gonna be your next book. Like you had it when you said, "Oh, the second book." So I thought, is there another one, Laurie?
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. This lady is a writer. You have to keep writing.
No more 500-page books. I mean, that was just absurd.
It was a huge endeavor. It's true.
That's a big.
But I
like,
hope you keep writing, because it's very rare for me to find. Usually it doesn't happen until towards the end of the process. And even then there's still some integration that has to happen beyond as people are launching their businesses and getting on stages and these things. But like, I feel like, you know, how you showed up to that retreat, right? Like in your nice clothes and your nails and your hair done, like all that stuff, right? Like, how long did it take for us to see the funny Laurie, like the truly, like, you know, everything is funny, super sarcastic? It didn't take that long, but in the writing, it's like there's such a clear match between your writing voice and your speaking voice, and it makes me giggle every time. Like, yeah, so you have to keep writing.
Oh, good. I'll do that. That is the feedback I get a lot of times. Like, I can hear, like, if somebody reads something, they're like, oh, I can hear you. Like, your voice reads it when I'm reading it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's very important.
Yeah.
The gift you have, got to keep giving it to the world. Yeah. Because it just, sometimes all people need is a good laugh in a day to change everything. And just the way, your little videos on Facebook or whatever, they're, the energy that you bring and the perspective that you have, and the way you see things, it's eye-opening and it makes you laugh. So it makes me laugh. I've heard others laugh. I just think it's a gift. You got to keep writing.
I just want, and I need the invitation. I need to know the day and the time and when to book the flight to be in the room when you do this with all the professionals. Like, I need to see the gut busting hilarity that happens in a room full of professionals who are busy helping other people through divorces all the time.
Yeah.
Seeing all of this insanity happen, but also like living through some of it themselves. Right? Like,
Yep.
it's a reality, and just to be able to have that space. So I definitely see that for you, and I want to be there when it happens for the first time at least. So yeah,
I'll let you know.
So what's next for you, Laurie? Like, we all want you to keep writing, want to see you speaking, but like, what's on your heart for the next phase?
How's that calendar looking? Is it still a little scary?
Well, I'm going to Disneyland. Like, actually. I just couldn't do Christmas this year because I'm so tired. So I'm like, we're gonna make Disneyland decorate. So the book launches on the 21st and on the 22nd, my family, Jim included, like all four of us are getting in a minivan and we are driving down to California. We're gonna go to Disneyland, Harry Potter, and do the whole thing and spend a week down there. I think my calendar is pretty ugly, but I'm not flipping past Disneyland right now. It'll just be there waiting when I get back. And I will probably write more books. I really enjoyed writing this book for lots of reasons. And I have a few other ideas already. Yeah. And I have 3 people saying, hey, would you do this with me? So maybe that'll work out. Maybe that won't. I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're also developing, I think this is important for our listeners who are maybe wondering, like, oh, maybe I need to get a hold of this lady.
Careful.
What do you do besides the custody evaluation? So you've got some content and courses coming up that's going to be helpful for some folks. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that and how they can reach you.
Yes. So my website is beautiful, and I had a very good elf help me with the website. Thank you, Alyssa. It's gorgeous. It so all of my information for everything that's going on in my life, in my professional life, is on there. That's childfocused, FOCUSED.net. And there is going to be, hopefully by maybe tomorrow, for sure by Monday, there's going to be a free video kind of tutorial that will help anybody who wants that information will be able to have it for free. And then there's also going to be a paid online course, which is a little more of a deep dive with lots of information from me, worksheets, reading material, all the do's and don'ts are in there. Just a bigger supply than the free video will be. Custody evaluations, I'm going to continue to do those. I have a couple of proteges now, so I'm teaching new people how to do the work I do. And then coaching and consultation, just one-on-one working. I love working one-on-one with folks and just really partnering and coming alongside and helping people with their very specific issues that are happening in their family around the context of their kids. So coaching and consultation is available to people. Yeah. And then my cool book, you should read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to read it.
Gotta read it.
Especially now that you know. It'll make it so much richer.
What is the name of your book, Laurie?
The name of my book?
Yeah. I don't know if the listeners know or if it's been said. So
I got to tell just a little story about it.
Okay.
So until not all that long ago, my book was called Crush Your Ex. Just crush your ex. Crush your ex. And somewhere, I got a lot of feedback like, Laurie, you can't do that. It's too, I'm like, it's called Crush Your Ex. That's the name of my book. That's supposed to be. And I didn't care. But then my daughter said, hey, Mom, if I saw that's in there, I would write, you don't have to across the top, because that's just mean. So I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And I had a warning page in my book to soften, but I was just determined. But then Finley is my daughter. She said, I would write, you don't have to. So now my book title is called You Don't Have to Crush Your Ex. Because really that was the message the whole time. I just thought Crush Your Ex was more, explosive or
scandalous, yes.
Scandalous. That's the word. Yeah. You don't have to crush your ice. And the you don't have to is there with a megaphone kind of for the coaching voice, So I was hoping to kind of bring myself onto the front page there and really just refocus the lens, make sure everybody knows we're talking about the kids.
Yeah, it's been fun to see how your kids have both played. And I hope that people will pick up your book and also pick up You Can't Make This Story Up and read the full story, because you didn't really share all the details here, because how could you? I think about like You Can't Make This Story Up is also 500 pages. And part of the reason for that is, people said, well, you really need to have like caps for people, like only 3,000 words or otherwise it's just going to grow. And I'm thinking, well, that might work for this person and this person, but Laurie's going to need a lot more words than that. Like the amount of things that happened over that small chunk of time. And so I hope that people will pick that up and read it, and also make sure that they use the restroom first. This is something that I have learned working with Laurie. Don't look at a text, answer an email until you go use the restroom first, because it will probably make you laugh too hard, if you know what I mean. So on that note,
oh, you guys are fun. Thank you for having me. That was good.
Thank you for being here and sharing your story. And I want to thank all of our listeners and viewers. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing, leaving us a review, and maybe even sharing your own moment of like,
Witchery.
Wow, witchery.
Yeah.
Yeah, share a moment where you're like, holy crap, I wrote that and it happened. I would love to hear those stories, because I'll tell you, we're doing a deeper dive into that sort of stuff this next year, because the experience with you has kind of cracked open the next few things that are coming. So
Awesome.
You can also find out details about our upcoming book that Laurie has chapter in called You Can't Make This Story Up. What if it's all happening for us? Because it is, at truetointention.com. So with that, I'll say goodbye for today. And I can't wait until we have Laurie on the show again.
Thank you.
For book number 2.
Book number 2. There you go.
I'm writing about all you in my next book.
Oh, hey. Oh, can we write our stories through you?
Yeah, you can send me little
do the
ticklers.
witchery for us. And
yeah. Tell me what you want. I'll start crafting
let's
it.
go.
It'd be good.
Craft your you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.